the investors recognise just what we have got. We've got the assets. We've now fully funded. We've got a great team, and the projects are all located in the right regions. They're surrounded by world-class hard rock lithium mines.
Hello and welcome to the Market Bull Podcast. Please note, topics and stocks discussed in this podcast are not financial or investment advice. Graeme Sloan is the Managing Director of Kali Metals, which is listed on the ASX under code KM1. Now, Graeme discussed the recent IPO and journey to the ASX, whilst also explaining his history in the mining sector. He focused on the projects at Kali Metals, in particular the Pilbra Hills and the Higginsville projects. Graeme also talked about the impressive team he has and the share register involved in Kali Metals. He also left investors with the key takeaway points for the rest of this year. Here is Graeme Sloan. So, hello, I'm Ben Kostrich, and this is the Market Bull Podcast. Joining me in the studio, the first interview in this studio for 2024 is Graeme Sloan, the Managing Director of Kali Metals, which recently IPO'd initial public offering on January the 8th under code KM1 and had an emphatic rise on debut. And it's quite exciting to have him in the room. So welcome, Graeme.
Thank you, Ben. Pleasure to be here.
I can imagine it was an absolute roller coaster of emotions last week with the share register that you guys have on board and just the hype train really that unfolded over the past week or so. And before we dive into all that, because there'll be a lot of people interested in the story and where was your history and how has it led you to the path of you taking on this new role and probably being the most popular man in Perth at the moment?
I'm not sure about being the most popular man, Ben, but certainly it's been an interesting journey for the last week and obviously the IPO went extra well. So my background, if you like, is mining engineering. I came up through the normal ranks, like a lot of mining engineers when they sort of came on board, was they went through the surveying route and then into mining engineering. So that was the first part. As I said, I've been very fortunate. I've worked with a number of companies around the world, in North America, South America, parts of Indonesia and most states of Australia. So when you're as old as I am, you get that opportunity to work in those sort of places, I suppose. But the last 20 years, mainly around being either chairman, MD or COO. So that's my background. As for Kali, Kali's, as I said, it's a great story. Really come on board and certainly looking forward to where we take it for the next few months.
Yeah, well, the IPO process, you ring the bell and then you're live and you're listed, but there's a lot of, I guess, lead up and it's the story itself as to why it's captivated so many. So from your point of view, you would have been approached or this whole project and the whole opportunity came around. I mean, what was so compelling for you to take on this new role and I guess go through this whole process of the IPO?
Yeah, it's, look, prior to joining Kali, I was the managing director of Australia for Karora Resources. It's a gold company. It's a TSX-listed gold company. And they're now currently the major shareholder or one of the two major shareholders of Kali Metals, the other being Kalamazoo. So when I was at MD, I did quite a bit of work in and around that area that we now have in Kali. And it became pretty evident early on that this had lots of potential for lithium. So that was the sort of the catalyst, if you like, to when we left Karora, then this became, why not? Why not have a look at what we can do and how best to do it with the Kalamazoo and Karora boards and shareholders.
Yeah, glad you mentioned the lithium. We should have highlighted that at the beginning because it was predominantly off the back of lithium prospects and packages and tenements. But I mean, going through, more from a macro point of view, lithium has had a bit of a tough run over the past 12 to 18 months. And, you look at how you guys listed straight away an emphatic rise. I mean, why do you think that had such a gravity towards investors so quickly, given that there's so many other lithium players that have really been struggling or the commodity, not the commodity, but the product itself has been quite, I guess, underwater?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons. And I think one of the main reasons is that, we're not overly impacted by the lithium price. Obviously, there's a link, strong link with us, but we're an exploration company. We're not a producer. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I think the investors recognise just what we have got. We've got the assets. We've now fully funded. We've got a great team to support to spend those dollars wisely and return those get the best return for shareholders. And the projects are all located in the right regions. They're surrounded by world-class hard rock lithium mines. So great projects, good team, have the funds. It's a great start for Gully.
Yeah, it is. When I was looking at it, there was plenty of coverage in the news. And I mean, we might start with, I guess, the participants in the share register because that captivated a lot of people. But there were some big names and big players that were getting interested in this, and that sort of helped, I guess, propel a bit of the interest from, everyone around the world. But I mean, when you're getting all these groups that are so interested in getting involved, I mean, sort of maintaining the emotion side of it, I mean, what was it like having those sorts of discussions with some people that were really going all in on yourself and Callie?
Yeah, it's look, we didn't really have the discussions with a lot of the groups but this whole industry would be so boring without these people. They have done a tremendous job. The Minres, the Chris Ellisons, the Gina Hancocks, all of these, they've done a tremendous job, and to be able to come in and do what they have done. So to have some of those people on our register is really quite a blessing. It's great. Yeah. It's great for shareholders. It's great for the industry, and to have them there now post the IPO is good for us. We'll work with them. We see them as being a positive resource for us, and we'll leverage off what we can off them.
And I think we'll drill down now in particular on the projects, because fundamentally that's the attraction that so many people have had, and you alluded to the location is quite pivotal. But if we start with the Pilbra Hill project, I mean, can you give a bit of insight into the package, what it's about, and I guess more so, was there any historical drilling or the neurology? There's a lot to unpack, but if you want to start from the top, we can make our way down.
Well, it's a massive land package. That's the first thing, Ben. It's almost 4,000 square kilometres. Now that's a big area, 2 or 3 times the size of Singapore. So it gives you an idea of what we have and what we control. So that's broken down into 3 main areas. One up in the north in the Pilbara area, one down south in and around Higginsville, and another one over east on what we call the Lachlan Fold Belt in New South Wales and Victoria. That's a new one. That's relatively a new, if you like, emerging lithium province. The other 2 are more well-known. Yep. Certainly in the Pilbara, we have 3 projects up there, Doms Hill, Marble Bar and Pear Creek. The first 2 projects, Doms Hill, Marble Bar, they're subject to a joint venture with SQM, who is a leading sort of producer of lithium in the world. So they have this joint venture. They have the right to spend some $12 million over 4 years to earn 70% of those 2 projects. They've spent around $2.5 million thereabouts. They've earned 30%. They've probably got about another 2.5 years to go onto that GV. So that area up there is predominantly funded by SQM. There is a third project up there called Pear Creek. Again, we will fund that ourselves. And we'll look at other opportunities up in and around that particular area. So that's going particularly well up there, and that whole Pilbara area is what I've referred to as sort of the land of the giants, the lithium giants. It's the big deposits up there. We're seeing deposits north of 300 million tonnes, that sort of number, and plus 1% grade. So big numbers in the hard rock lithium space. And we're up there right in amongst them. We're only 50 k's away from Pilbara Minerals' Pilgangora operation, close to the Wodgina mine, which is again another big deposit. The new Tabba deposit that you've all heard on in the media, and so we're surrounded by these projects up there. So that's Pilbara. Down south around Higginsville. Again, we are smack in the middle of these multiple sort of mining projects and advanced exploration shows on exploration. So we have a big land position down there. We have Mount Marion to the north. We have Bald Hill to the east. To the north of that is the Manna deposit. Down south is the Buldania and Norseman, which is Liontown and mineral resources. And then to the east, we have essential metals. So we're pretty much surrounded, absolutely surrounded by these areas. And again, we've done work on that. You would have seen, or maybe you haven't seen, Ben, but we released an ASX announcement there, I think on the 10th, where we had rock chip samples up to 3.69% lithium. So really high grade. Lots of outcropping pegmatites there in the right LCT pegmatites. So that area there, enormously hot, surrounded by all sorts of mines and third parties, and then you have the emerging one over east. So a big package, plenty of work to do, but we're looking forward to getting into it.
I can imagine, just rattling off some of those names and operating mines, you're in a pretty fortunate position in a way, surrounded by, there's going to be good facilities and constant sort of support in that area, given the lithium direction and what we need it for. But more so over the next 12 months, of course, I mean, these projects and these areas have got to have almost like a game plan and a timeline. And that's almost one of the things that you communicate in the IPO process is what you can use the funds for. And now that you are fully funded, I mean, what are sort of priorities and objectives to really start nailing over these next 12 months for Cali Metals?
Yeah. And we've, as we said in the prospectus, our main focus will be in and around Higginsville. That's not to say that we don't think the others have, but Pilbara, as I said, is subject to the SQM JV, so it's funded up there. So those funds, we don't have to put any funds into those projects. What we will put is the most of our funds into in and around Higginsville. That's got multiple targets we can sort of prioritise and look at. So that's underway now, and then we'll put a little bit of funds over on our east coast because it's a growing area. Still new, still greenfields, but pretty exciting what we've got over. So Higginsville will be our main focus.
Yeah, far out. It's going to be a very sort of big year, you could say, and you're going to be constantly sort of bombarded with questions and whatnot. But I mean, from a point of view of, again, the exploration side of things, of being a small company, you're in an area where you've got a lot of big players around you. I mean, what's the vibe like, potentially, like, with the companies, the big dogs all around you? Is there much sort of, I guess, chatter and working together, or are you guys just, because you said you've got massive pockets of land, you can't see anyone for miles, you really have no idea what's happening in the different sites from day to day, or what's the vibe like?
It's a great time to be in this game. I mean, I know lithium prices are down, and I know the sort of the sentiment, the market sentiment is down, but really we're funded, we've got the assets, as I said, and we're going ahead. Now, the other guys, we can't control it, so we can't worry about it. But again, I think we all find a way to work together. And I think the fact that you already know that Mineral Resources put out a statement where they sort of a substantial shareholder notice, they now own 10% of the company, which is great. So, and I really welcome them on coming on our register. So I think they'll be happy as long as we go out and deliver what we say we're going to do. And that's what I want to do with all shareholders. So it's important for us to make sure that we are very transparent, we are open with the market, we report where we are, what we've done, and more importantly, where we're going. And that's what we intend to do.
And I mean, taking a step back for a lot of these packages, was there any historical evidence or any sort of previous results that sort of highlighted that there might be, potentially other materials there, like everyone was, overlooked it a few years ago or whatever, because it might have been, not much gold, and therefore everyone sort of ignored it. Was there any sort of historical evidence about what was potentially on these areas and therefore sort of gave you a bit more of an interest to go, well, let's specialize and try and focus on, as you said, the lithium side of it?
Look, most of the area in and around Higginsville was drilled for nickel and gold. No, there was either very little or zero drilling for lithium. But what we have got from those days is a very large database. In that database, there's something in the order of 750 odd occurrences of intersections in these drill holes of pegmatite greater than 10 metres. So remember, these holes were drilled for nickel and gold, not for lithium. So
That's what
we
I mean.
have
It's a different
750
priority.
exact. So it gave us a big start, right? And unraveling that is a big part of what we're doing now and have been doing for some months, trying to get our head around just what we have got or haven't got. So as far as whether there was some historical work, very little.
Yeah.
Although we have a database that contains a lot of this information that'll help us. And again, when you mine some of these gold deposits, and as I said, I was sort of MD of Karora at the time, so I've seen some of these. There were pegmatites in some of these gold pits that we've seen. Now, we didn't know a lot about pegmatites in those days, other than they were a nuisance to us because they were hard rock.
Yes, heard some great stories about that. Yeah.
So we've seen them, we knew they were there, and that's the ones we're going back and we'll have a look at those at the appropriate time.
Yeah, and I mean, throughout your time, as you said, you've been involved in a vast array of mining projects and, I guess, exploration work. Have you seen any sort of differences or similarities between these array of resources that we're searching for? And, we talk about lithium almost now that everyone's looking for it. There's an abundance, but we're still trying to figure out the next components. But have you sort of learned and figured new sort of, I guess, elements and ways of doing the researching and the sampling and all of that? Or are there many similarities between covering all these different elements and therefore, what's the vibe like for lithium?
Yeah, look, I think given the fact that there are a lot of similarities, Ash, to answer your question, across the gold and the lithium space and the nickel space, if you like. The way to go around the exploration differs slightly, but still the pegmatites, if you like, the lithium seems to be a more systematic approach, and not to say that gold isn't, but there's a slower approach to lead into drilling. And I think that's the key. If you get that, I've seen areas where we have gone in and probably put some holes in early on, hoping to hit these dikes, if you like, and haven't quite worked out. And some have, but I think if you take the process, the slower process where you do the mapping, the sampling, the soils, and then based on that anomalies, those you target in, and then you start the drilling. So, and that's the process we're using up in the Pilbara, and we're using that process down in Higginsville, and I'm pretty damn confident we're going to. That's the right process to follow.
Yeah, no, it's been the fascination with focus on lithium and all these commodities and components have cycles, and then there's the booms and the busts, and I think no matter what's been happening with the lithium price, the demand supply just dictates that there's going to be a turn. It's just a matter of when. But if you're taking a step back, if we go back to the macro side of it, you said being in a great jurisdiction such as Australia. I mean, given your experience, I mean, how much is that? Do you think in the long term going to be beneficial? The fact that you've got these projects in provinces that are first tier, world tier sort of areas, and also jurisdictionally.
Oh, absolutely. I think Australia is still, it's one of the best countries to develop mines in, and we're a resource nation. We depend so much on the resources being able to deliver and the tax dollars that come out of those, and I think Australia is one, if not the leading place to invest in now, and lithium's no different. Lithium, I think people recognise that there's plenty of lithium around, and a lot in countries that are quite difficult to deal in. But the security, the confidence that you can end up with a resource after spending all this money on it, and then to find it's been ripped out from underneath you, is that is difficult. And I think Australia offers far more sort of security and comfort in those areas. So, without a doubt, if I had a country to invest in, it would be Australia.
Yeah. No, we've seen a few companies over the last 12 months have real problems with sovereign risk, and especially with the current climate. There's really this thirst from investors to have something secure, and you don't have to worry about some of those volatilities of a government suddenly pulling the pin on something, which you'd like to say, who knows what the future holds, but you say Australia's pretty good at not doing that. It's had its few troubles with mining and all of that. But you said at the beginning you have a quite a strong team surrounding you, and more so, I guess, from the management and the board, but also probably trickling down to the geos and the team on ground. I mean, without probably going through everyone involved, but who are the sort of standout groups and their experience that are supporting you in this mission?
Well, first, like all MDs, one of the things you really have to have is a great board, and we have a great board, very experienced, led by Luke Reiner as the chairman, um, uh, hugely supportive and not afraid of hard work. So that's a great start to have. Then you have your executive team, and we have a very, very strong team. We just recruited Stuart Peterson, who's come in from Global Lithium. He brings a ton of lithium experience. He's got a good team around him, and as I said, our corporate executive team is there. So look, without, as I said right at the start, you have the assets, and I've seen some companies have some great assets. You don't have the right people to actually extract the value from those assets. Then you do run into problems. I think we're very fortunate to have the assets and the team.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the ASX PowerPoints or the presentations, and it's got the array of other information, and of course there's the website. But the listeners that are now, and I know there's going to be a fair few that are following this, and it's in their watch list, and they're really monitoring the everyday sort of volumes and whatnot. I mean, how can people really, I guess, stay in contact and stay up to date with the activities that Cali Metals is doing?
Look, obviously the website, come on there. Our ticker is KM1. You can follow us there, or as I said, the website. And obviously, we have we're very open to receiving shareholder calls or investor calls. We'll take those. If I can't get to them straight away, I will get back to you, or one of my team will get back to you to make sure. So it's important that you have the ability. You invest in our company, you become an owner of our company. So therefore, you have rights to be told exactly where we're set and what we're doing. So. That's really true for us to make sure that we deliver that message out to the shareholders.
That transparent sort of communication. And we've seen that really more so over the past handful of years, that there's really this effort to make sure that you're transparent with shareholders. There's really this thirst, especially from Australia, but just global. There's much more exchange between MD and board with regular shareholders, no matter really what size, which is fantastic. But I guess encapsulating the key points, I always like to, say the 3 key points, because everyone loves numbers of 3.
Yeah.
If there's 3 key takeaways that someone listening to this goes, this is what I can expect over the next 6 to 12 months from the company, I mean, what would you say those top 3 points would be?
Look, I think you're going to end up with, you'll see that we put a lot of money into the ground. There's not going to be a lot of money going outside of that. That's the first thing. So we'll spend money wisely and to deliver the results. So, and that comes about by those 3 assets I spoke about. They are world-class assets, and I think we can deliver the results based on that. And then I think the third thing is that we will be, as we said, transparent. We will make sure that shareholders are notified of what's happening, and more importantly, the future, where we're going. Where we're going to take this company in the future. And if you've got those, and as I said, the team behind us, I'm pretty confident where we're heading.
No, it is like the start to this new year. It's probably would have been one of the most successful ones so far to list, and the success it's having. And I wish you all the best with this next 12 months. There's going to be a lot of activity, and as we said, hopefully the lithium love comes back in from the position that it's been in. But we know that the supply demand is there. But yeah, thank you so much, Graeme, for speaking on the show with me today.
Absolute pleasure, Ben.
Thanks for listening to the Market Bull podcast. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow the Market Bull on our socials at Twitter and LinkedIn by searching The Market Bull. You can also subscribe to our newsletter on the website by visiting www.themarketbull.com.au.